In 2011, the world finds itself once again on the edge of a knife. After years of simmering tensions, conflict erupts in the Middle East, with violence spilling across borders and turning entire nations into battlefields. In the eye of the storm is Khalid al-Assad, a radical figure who rises to power with alarming speed, rallying insurgent forces to his side and launching a brutal campaign to overthrow governments across the region. His rise appears to be a spontaneous explosion of fury and rebellion, the result of years of pent-up frustration and dissatisfaction among the people. But in reality, al-Assad is not the hero of the oppressed that he claims to be. Behind him lurks a far more sinister influence, one that is carefully hidden from the eyes of the world. Al-Assad's insurgency is not a grassroots rebellion but a carefully orchestrated plot, backed by a powerful, secretive network of Western interests. The goal is not to liberate the Middle East, but to destabilize it, plunging the region into chaos so that Western powers can manipulate the outcome and install puppet regimes that serve their interests. These Western forces have grown tired of the region's stability and seek to reshape it to their advantage. And as the world watches in horror, they place the blame for the chaos squarely on Russia, hoping to turn global opinion against the only nation capable of standing in their way. Russia, however, is not blind to the truth. At the helm of the Russian response stands General Imran Zakhaev, a decorated military leader and strategist who has dedicated his life to the defense of his country. Zakhaev is a man of honor, driven by a deep sense of duty to protect his homeland and its people from foreign aggression. He sees through the lies spun by the West and recognizes al-Assad for what he truly is, a puppet, a tool being used by shadowy figures in the West to further their own goals. Zakhaev knows that if Russia does not act, the consequences will be dire. Not only will the Middle East descend into unrelenting conflict, but the chaos will spread, destabilizing Europe and threatening Russia itself. He resolves to take the fight to the enemy and expose the truth before it is too late. With the support of his loyal Spetsnaz forces, Zakhaev launches a daring campaign to take down al-Assad and reveal the Western plot to the world. Among Zakhaev's most trusted soldiers is Sergeant Nikolai, a battle-hardened veteran with a reputation for precision and loyalty. Nikolai is tasked with leading a covert operation into the heart of the Middle Eastern conflict, where he and his team must gather intelligence on al-Assad's operations and uncover the connection between the insurgency and the West. It is a dangerous mission, but one that is crucial to Russia's survival. As Nikolai and his team move through the war-torn cities of the Middle East, they begin to piece together the true extent of the conspiracy. They discover that al-Assad is not acting alone. He is receiving weapons, funding, and training from a group of rogue Western military leaders who have gone underground. These leaders, once hailed as heroes, are now using their considerable resources and expertise to sow chaos across the region. At the head of this group are two names that will become infamous in the course of the conflict: Captain John Price and John Soap McTavish. Captain Price and Soap McTavish were once celebrated military figures, known for their daring operations and their success in the field of battle. But now, they have turned their talents to darker pursuits. Disillusioned with the state of the world and driven by a hunger for power, they have gone rogue, establishing a vast terrorist network that operates in the shadows. Their goal is simple: to destabilize governments, fuel conflict, and use the resulting chaos to expand Western influence across the globe. They are masters of deception, manipulating events from behind the scenes and allowing others, like al-Assad, to take the blame for their actions. The more Nikolai and his team uncover, the clearer it becomes that Price and Soap are the true masterminds behind the chaos in the Middle East. Al-Assad is nothing more than a puppet, a convenient figurehead to distract the world from the real threat. But exposing this truth will not be easy. Price and Soap have gone to great lengths to cover their tracks, and they are not about to let their carefully crafted plan be unraveled. As the conflict intensifies, Russia finds itself increasingly isolated on the world stage. The West, using its control over the global media, spins a narrative that paints Russia as the aggressor, the villain responsible for the violence and unrest. Sanctions are imposed, diplomatic ties are severed, and calls for military intervention grow louder. But Zakhaev remains undeterred. He knows that the truth is on Russia's side, and he is determined to prove it, no matter the cost. In a dramatic turn of events, Nikolai and his team managed to capture al-Assad during a raid on one of his strongholds. Interrogated by Russian intelligence, al-Assad reveals the truth about his relationship with Price and Soap. He admits that he was recruited by them years earlier, promised power and wealth in exchange for his loyalty. It was Price and Soap who provided him with the weapons and resources he needed to build his militia, and it was they who orchestrated the attacks that plunged the Middle East into chaos. With this information in hand, Zakhaev orders a full-scale assault on Price and Soap's network. Russian forces, alongside Nikolai and his team, launch a series of daring operations across the Middle East and Europe, targeting key figures within the terrorist organization. But Price and Soap are always one step ahead, evading capture and continuing to sow chaos wherever they go. In 2016, the conflict reaches a new level of intensity. Price and Soap, desperate to turn the tide in their favor, stage one of the most horrific attacks in modern history, a massacre at Moscow's busiest airport. Disguised as Russian soldiers, Price's mercenaries open fire on hundreds of innocent civilians, leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. The world is shocked by the brutality of the attack, and once again, the blame falls on Russia. But those who know the truth, Zakhaev, Nikolai, and their allies, see the massacre for what it is, a false flag operation designed to frame Russia and justify a Western invasion. The massacre pushes the world to the brink of war. Western powers, believing Russia to be responsible for the attack, begin mobilizing their forces, preparing for a full-scale invasion. But Zakhaev and his team refuse to back down. They know that the only way to stop the war is to expose Price and Soap's network once and for all. To do so, they will need the help of Yuri, a former Spetsnaz soldier who has a personal vendetta against Price. Yuri, once a loyal follower of Price, was betrayed by him during an earlier mission. Now, he seeks revenge, and he is willing to risk everything to bring Price to justice. Yuri joins forces with Nikolai and Makarov, another key figure in Russia's intelligence network, and together they begin a relentless pursuit of Price and Soap, tracking them across the globe. The hunt for Price and Soap leads them to Europe, where the rogue leaders have established a series of safehouses and supply routes to support their operations. The conflict spreads across the continent, with Russian forces engaging in fierce battles against Price's mercenaries in cities like Paris, Berlin, and London. The violence is intense, and the stakes have never been higher. If Price and Soap succeed in their plan, the world will descend into chaos, and Western powers will use the conflict as an excuse to crush Russia once and for all. Despite the overwhelming odds, Yuri, Nikolai, and Makarov press on. In their search for Price, they uncover crucial evidence linking the massacre at the Moscow airport and other terrorist attacks directly to Price's network. This evidence, if revealed, could finally expose the truth to the world and turn global opinion against Price and Soap. But it's a race against time. Western forces are already preparing for their invasion of Russia, and any delay could spell disaster for the nation. In a dramatic turn of events, the Russian operatives manage to track down one of Price's most trusted lieutenants, a mercenary known only as Ghost. After a tense confrontation, Ghost reveals that Price and Soap are planning their final and most devastating move, a coordinated series of terrorist attacks across Europe and the United States, designed to provoke a full-scale global war. The attacks are set to take place within days, and if they succeed, the world as they know it will never be the same. Yuri and Makarov, now armed with this critical information, realize that their only hope is to take the fight directly to Price. But to do so, they must infiltrate the heart of his operations. Their investigation leads them to a fortified compound in the mountains of Eastern Europe, where Price and Soap have gathered their remaining forces in preparation for their final strike. The assault on the compound is nothing short of epic. Russian special forces, led by Nikolai, storm the facility with the precision and ruthlessness they are known for. The battle rages across the compound, with explosions and gunfire lighting up the night. Inside, Yuri and Makarov make their way through the labyrinthine corridors, fighting their way past heavily armed guards as they close in on their target. In the final showdown, Yuri confronts Soap McTavish in the command center of the compound. The two men face off in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, with Soap taunting Yuri about his past and the betrayals that led them to this point. But Yuri is relentless. In a dramatic moment of triumph, Yuri overpowers Soap, delivering a fatal blow and bringing an end to his reign of terror. But as Soap falls, Price is nowhere to be found. The rogue captain has once again slipped through their fingers, escaping the compound in the chaos of the battle. With Soap dead and the compound destroyed, the immediate threat is averted, but the larger danger remains. Price is still at large, and his network is far from dismantled. The events of 2016 set the stage for the final chapter in this epic saga. By the time Modern Warfare 3 begins, the world is teetering on the edge of global war. Captain Price, now operating from the shadows, has regrouped and rebuilt his network, launching a series of devastating attacks across Europe and North America. Cities like London, Berlin, and even Washington, D.C. are rocked by bombings, assassinations, and cyber attacks, all orchestrated by Price's mercenaries. Russia, once again painted as the villain by Western media, finds itself under siege, both diplomatically and militarily. But Zakhaev, Yuri, and Makarov refuse to give up the fight. They know that the only way to stop Price is to expose his true nature to the world, and they are prepared to risk everything to do so. As Modern Warfare 3 unfolds, the Russian forces mount a desperate defense of their homeland while simultaneously working to uncover the whereabouts of Price. Their search leads them across the globe, from the frozen tundra of Siberia to the sprawling metropolises of Europe. Along the way, they face countless challenges, from hostile Western forces to Price's ever-expanding network of mercenaries and terrorists. The climax of the story comes when Yuri and Makarov discover Price's ultimate plan. Using intelligence gathered from captured operatives, they learn that Price intends to hold a summit in Dubai, where he will meet with the leaders of his terrorist network to finalize their plans for global domination. If this summit takes place, Price's forces will have the coordination and resources they need to launch a final, catastrophic wave of attacks that will plunge the world into total war. Knowing that this summit is their last chance to stop Price, the Russian forces launch a daring assault on Dubai. It's a high-risk mission, with Yuri, Makarov, and Nikolai leading the charge. The battle for Dubai is intense, with firefights breaking out in the city's luxurious hotels and skyscrapers as the Russian operatives fight their way to the summit's location. Inside the summit, Price is meeting with the most dangerous figures in his network, terrorists, arms dealers, and corrupt politicians who are all eager to see the world burn so they can seize power in the aftermath. But before the final agreements can be made, the Russian operatives storm the building, engaging Price's elite guards in a brutal firefight. In the final confrontation, Yuri and Makarov face off against Price atop one of Dubai's tallest skyscrapers. The battle is fierce, with bullets flying and explosions rocking the building. Price, now fully embracing his role as the architect of global chaos, taunts Yuri and Makarov, claiming that they are too late to stop him and that the world is already on the path to destruction. But Yuri and Makarov refuse to give in. In a desperate and daring move, Yuri confronts Price directly. The two engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight on the edge of the skyscraper, with the city of Dubai sprawling out below them. In the end, it is Yuri who prevails, delivering a final blow that sends Price plummeting to his death. With Price dead and the summit disrupted, the immediate threat is over. But the damage that Price and Soap have done to the world cannot be undone overnight. The war may be ending, but the scars left by their actions will take years to heal. As the dust settles, Russia emerges from the conflict not as the villain it was portrayed to be, but as the hero, the nation that stood against the forces of chaos and terrorism when no one else would. General Zakhaev, Nikolai, Yuri, and Makarov are hailed as the defenders of global peace, their actions having saved the world from descending into an era of darkness. In the end, the story of modern warfare is not one of simple good versus evil. It is a tale of deception, manipulation, and the lengths to which people will go in the pursuit of power. It is a story where the true villains are not those who fight for their homeland, but those who seek to control it through lies and terror. And in this version of the story, it is Russia, not the West, that stands as the beacon of hope in a world on the brink of destruction.